My name is Jeff St. Laurent, and I help coaches transition to a full-time business. I focus on the sales and the marketing aspects of all the structures of your business. I've been doing this since 2004, and I want to share with you today about what I will call the entrepreneurial energy cycle. And this is super important to understand being an entrepreneur yourself. I'm going to explain it briefly, and I'm going to give you a solution for it that I do, and I help my clients with as well. So the entrepreneurial energy cycle goes something like, you start this off, you're excited to go full-time, whatever you want to create in your coaching business, and you go gangbusters. Maybe I'm dating myself. Is that a word anymore? Anyways, we go gangbusters with our business. We're all in, and we start doing the work. Especially I've seen this with my clients, right? They hire me. We're super focused. We're dialed in. I'm telling them exactly what to do, how to do it. We're working together. I'm helping them through it. And they're just so streamlined and they're moving forward. Well, then they do the work. And let's say they do an event and they promote it and they prepare for it. And then afterwards, I'm teaching them how to follow up, etc. And then afterwards, there's this energy that they have after a stint of doing the work. And they tend to stop. And this is not everybody, but it's everybody at a certain point as an entrepreneur. And we will do the work and we kick our butts. And then there's this level of internal exhaustion. It's not physical exhaustion, it's internal exhaustion. And it's internal exhaustion of, I did the work. Now I got to feel for what the actual work is in this business. And while I can do it, or even if I can do it and there's areas where I need to improve, which most likely there are, so the work's more exhausting than it will be in the future. And you know that logically, but it takes more out of you emotionally than you might have anticipated. And then on the other end, you most likely got little to no results in terms of tangible, like paying clients. Doesn't mean you didn't. And even if you did, you still feel this way. And you get to a point where now I've got to do that again. Or maybe you do it a couple times, a couple cycles of work. And now I got to do it again. At some point, you're going to feel like exhausted and procrastinating, and you're going to find yourself not doing the work, even though you've got the time, even though you got the space, even though you technically know what to do, whether it's easy or hard for you. You're just not doing it, and you're getting frustrated with yourself, and you're questioning your belief in your ability to do this, or the ability to make this work as a business to support you and whatever you need to support you financially, or the time it's taking you to do this. And what that exhaustion is actually we get to a place where we realize in our business, like, this is the reality of the business. Just like in a relationship, right? We get to with somebody and we're super excited and it's a honeymoon phase. And then after a while, we realize we're into the work of the relationship. There's the work of making this relationship work. And then as we add in other elements to that in a relationship, in our business, we realize like, oh, wow, this isn't as sexy as I thought it would be. Being my own boss is actually challenging, and the discipline involved and maintaining my schedule and setting boundaries with myself, which I can compromise too easily and readily. And so we get to this place where we realize like, oh, this is what I've got to do. And also we're not great at it, and we need to develop skill sets at it. So it, like I said earlier, it exhausts us a little more than it will in the future, but that doesn't matter, that we're going to get better at it. And those are the tangible results we get in the beginning. Is we start to get better. It's the check marks of actually doing it. It's the accomplishment of doing it. And it's like, oh, even if you got a client or two, yeah, it's exciting, but then you realize like, oh, I got to do it all over again. And that's that level of exhaustion. And so where I want to come into is hopefully that validates a little bit of a cycle you've gone through that you might not have been aware of. Is do the work, super excited, maybe do that a couple times where there's a culminative event that's over, or you follow up with, and then you realize, I got to keep repeating this day in and day out, right? And that's exhausting. And we may not realize that that's actually what's going on. So where we can help with this is we've got to develop a level, I'll call it a cadence, a baseline cadence of work in our marketing, where we're sending email out on a regular basis, on a weekly basis. We're taking that and posting it on social, and maybe we're doing a video every week. And that's what I call our level 2, our baseline marketing that keeps us top of mind. And then there's what I call phase 1 marketing, which is, hey, it's getting out and meeting and connecting and networking, inviting, growing our network. What's a baseline cadence? There's a certain amount of time, a certain amount of people I'm going to connect with, a meeting I'm going to go to on a regular, weekly, monthly. That's a baseline. A baseline is like something you do no matter what. Like every day you get out of bed, hopefully. Maybe you brush your teeth and you eat something at some point, right? That's a baseline cadence. I get up, I brush my teeth. You probably change. I'm adding that in there, and you eat something throughout the day. Who cares whether it's good or not? Like that's a baseline cadence. Like at a minimum, you're functioning, right? So what's that baseline cadence in your business that you do every week? I send my email, I do a video, I post that content on social, I call 3 people, and I make 1 networking meeting, as an example, right? And that's your baseline: getting out of bed, brushing your teeth, eating food, and getting dressed. And that's the cadence we do no matter what. Where this business is built is within that baseline cadence every week is short bursts of intense activity. So there's going to be times during the week, not all week, but on a certain day or a certain week, where you go harder. You're motivated. Something happened. You got a call, whatever. You're excited. You're motivated. Something's going on. And that burst of energy lasts for a period of time. It could be hours. It could be days. It could be weeks, not every day, but you're showing up. And when you have time, you're spending a couple hours on it and you're going on it. You're gangbusters again. And you're going to do that work. And that cycle is going to play itself out with whatever's happening with that. And then there's going to be a level of exhaustion or tiredness or whatever. And that's actually not going to matter like it did before, because you went from that pace to 0. And you stayed at 0 or close to 0 for a while. Whereas now you don't go back to 0 because you have that baseline cadence. You go back to that cadence, right? And so you're getting out of bed, you're brushing your teeth, you're eating some food during the day, and you're getting dressed. Like that's your cadence. And sometimes you're going to spruce yourself up. Sometimes you're going to go work out. Sometimes you're going to go to a party. Sometimes you're going to work hard, blah, blah, blah. But at some point you're going to get tired, but you go back to the baseline cadence. That's the entrepreneurial energy cycle, is what I'm coining it here. And it's super important to be aware of. This looks and sounds different for everyone in terms of what that work looks like, what the cadence is. But hopefully this has been helpful in terms of just identifying a little bit. If you're in a position where this has been helpful for you and you need some better strategies to help you work through that, or maybe you're in a position where it's just like, yeah, I don't even know what I need to do for a baseline cadence, consider potentially working with me or taking a closer look at how I could help you if you were to hire me as your mentor coach. If that's something you're interested in learning more about, visit the Work With Me page at sellingcoaching.com, fill out the form at the bottom, and I'll follow up with you. We can create a relaxed conversation and decide where to go from there. Until then, find your cadence, get on it, and see what you can create. Thanks, everyone.